guys, welcome back to Raya Reviews, and today I'm going to be reviewing Ariana Grande's 2016 album, Dangerous Woman. Now, this was her third studio album to come out. I've been meaning to review this for a while after I reviewed Sweetener and Thank You Next. I'm kind of going backwards in the Ariana Grande reviews, I suppose you could say. I'm going backwards and not reviewing them in order. But that's okay. For the most part, I still think that they are albums that I think reviewing them backwards, starting with the most recent one and going back, is a pretty effective way to go about it. So without further ado, I'm going to get straight into the review. This is her third album. This was a much more mature album, I guess I would say, from a lyrical standpoint. A lot of the songs were a little more steamy, a little more mature sounding. Now, from a production standpoint, this still has some of the kind of R&B stylings of Yours Truly, but a little more of a mature version. I guess I would call this album a little bit of a mature reimagining of Yours Truly a little bit. Yours Truly being her debut album. And this is a very solid album. I will say this straight out. I actually, upon listening to this multiple times, I actually think this is way better than Sweetener and My Everything. I don't know if it's better than Yours Truly. I would have to listen to that again. It's good in a different way. Now, this album opens with Moonlight, which is kind of, I've heard this song described as the adult version of Honeymoon Avenue. I kind of see where they're coming from with that. And there's a song here that goes along with it, which is Leave Me Lonely. It has the same kind of vibe to it, in my opinion, on the second half of the album, featuring Macy Gray. Now, of course, this album is front-loaded with singles. Dangerous Woman, the title track, probably my favorite song on the album, probably one of my favorite Ariana Grande songs. Dangerous Woman is a song that she didn't even write, but she completely commands the song. Her vocals on the song are amazing, and this song has a guitar solo which leads into the final chorus, and gosh, that final chorus is impactful. She really hits it out of the park for vocals on this song. And of course, there's the singles Be Alright and Into You. Be Alright, I gotta say, the production on the song is kind of a little bit weak, but the lyrics more than make up for it. They're extremely positive and happy, unlike something like New Better Forever Boy, which is the last track on the album, which has the same production issues but doesn't really hit home with me lyrically the way Be Alright does. Now, I gotta talk about the song Into You, which was another big single off this album. I really enjoyed this one quite a bit. It's a very solid pop song. It's well produced, it's clean. There's really nothing interesting or creative about the song. From a lyrical standpoint, it's just very generic, but it is very solid. Ariana does well on it, and the song itself sounds good, and I have to say that. Now, it's immediately followed by another single from the album, Side to Side. Now, this one, I do kind of enjoy the more reggae-style rhythm to the song. Ariana's vocals, again, she sells it out of the park. I do love the playful sexuality of most of this song. I have to say, though, I'm a little bit surprised she was able to pull off something so subtle and not subtle at the same time. This song is probably the most overtly sexual song Ariana has ever released, and she's released God is Woman and Break Up With Your Girlfriend, I'm Bored. Now, this song, and Sweetener, I should mention that. This song is kind of, it's fine, and I do like it, but Nicki's verses are a little bit too explicit even for me. Now, going on, speaking of explicit and gross, we have Let Me Love You, probably my least favorite song on the album. This song features Lil Wayne, which Ariana Grande and Lil Wayne do not play off each other. I can't say I am okay with this at all. The song is okay, I guess. I kind of like the pre-chorus, but once she gets into the chorus and the, choppy vocals, it sounds more creepy than sexy, and it's trying to be seductive, and it does not work. If she just held it out as an extended syllable, in fact, I did hear her do that live. I heard a live version of this song when I was looking up some other rankings for this review, and it turns out that somebody she actually made the song sound a bit better live, which is good to mention. Now, again, some of the other songs on this album I already mentioned. Leave Me Lonely sometimes is another solid one. It's just not that memorable to me, and I Don't Care is kind of in the same mode as Sometimes, although I say I like it a bit better. Now, we have the divisive songs, Touch It and Bad Decisions. Now, Bad Decisions, I absolutely love this song. It's fantastic. I love the lyrics, it's got one of those big choruses and one of those moments where Ari's vocals absolutely shine. Now, I would say this album has a little more hip-hop influence than something like yours truly, not too much, so she really went down that road with Sweetener in a failed attempt and a successful attempt with her album Thank You Next. Now, going back onto this, I have to say, Touch It is an incredibly divisive song for some reason. I've seemed to see people say they love it or hate it. Same thing with Bad Decisions as well. Bad Decisions I love. Touch It I definitely enjoy, but not as much as Bad Decisions, and people seem to really love Touch It or not like it, so it's just kind of an interesting dynamic there. Now, I should probably talk about Greedy. Greedy is a great song from this album. I love the kind of gospel influence here. It's upbeat, it's fun to listen to. I enjoy the song. It's extremely fun to listen to, and I like everything about the song pretty much. It's extremely solid and fun. The overall tone and sound of this album is basically a very mature reimagining of yours truly, with the exception of Side to Side and, I don't know, maybe Let Me Love You and Touch It. I wouldn't say this gets too grossly explicit, although there are a lot of sexual undertones to the album. Now, again, I would say probably the only real exception being Side to Side and maybe Let Me Love You. Now, she does use a bit more swearing than she did on her previous two albums, not nearly as much as she would end up using on her more recent stuff. But again, this is like a pivotal midpoint in her sound. This is like the blending of her current sound with her old sound. And I have to say, I do really enjoy this album. I think it's incredibly solid. It flows together really well. So, now for a track ranking. So, at number 14 is Let Me Love You, for reasons I already specified. Number 13 is New Better Forever Boy. Number 12 is Sometimes. Number 11 is Every Day, which is one song I forgot to mention as well, which is a bop. It's a very fun song. She basically follows the Problem formula too closely, and it's kind of the third song in the Problem formula, but I still enjoy it. Number 10 is I Don't Care. Number 9 is Side to Side. Number 8 is Be Alright. Number 7, Into You. Number 6, Moonlight. And for my top 5, we have Touch It at number 5. Number 4 is Leave Me Lonely. Number 3 is Greedy. Number 2 is Bad Decisions, and number 1 is Dangerous Woman. Now, overall, I would give the album probably an 8 out of 10. It's a very solid record for her, probably rated about the same as I would rate Thank You Next, one of her better albums in my opinion. Definitely not, I wouldn't say, it doesn't have as much personal stuff as Thank You Next, but from a musical level, I probably enjoy this a little bit more. And this album is very solid. I would definitely give it a listen if you haven't given it a chance yet, or had tried to get into it and hadn't been able to get into it before. There are some hidden gems on the back side of this album. Again, I mentioned Every Day is a fun song. You've got songs like I Don't Care, especially Bad Decisions and Touch It. So, honestly, if this is an album that you've had trouble getting into or just have kind of passed by over the years, definitely go back and revisit it if you're into pop R&B, if you're into Ariana Grande at all. If you're into her current stuff, if you're into her older stuff, this should be a nice marriage between those two sounds. If you like either of her sounds, you should be able to find something to like on this album. There's a lot of style and flavor here. And of course, Ari's vocals soar as always. I mostly like the production on this album. There are a few moments where it feels kind of cheap and dinky, notably Be Alright and Forever Boy, but I gotta say, overall, this is one of her better produced records, and the songwriting itself is, while pretty generic, does really fit. And there are some nice moments, like on Moonlight, the whole James Dean references. I actually like it here. Taylor Swift did that, as of course, with style. In general, there are some pretty nice little songwritery moments on this album. For the most part, pretty generic in that department though, but overall, definitely makes up for it just in her vocal talent. For instance, the other day I was saying probably one of the best songs on Sweetener, Breathin', is a song that would not be nearly as good without her singing it. If somebody else was singing it, it would not be as nearly as good. And I'd say a lot of these songs, like Dangerous Woman And honestly, a lot of these songs on this record probably wouldn't sound as good if they were sung by someone else, because these just fit Ariana's sound at the time, and I really appreciated that about this album. Now, where it fits in her discography as a whole, I would say I would rate it about the same as Thank You Next. I might give the edge to this one for production, but Thank You Next has some clunkers for sure. But I would say this album only really has one bad song in the form of Let Me Love You. Now, Thank You Next has a couple songs I would consider mediocre to bad. We have Makeup, NASA, Seven Rings, there's a couple more that I would just consider kind of there. Now, again, My Everything is probably the album of hers I'm least familiar with, so that will be my next album of hers to review. I'm not sure when I'll be doing that, I have some other things to review first. But when I do decide to get back to that album, that will be interesting. I think that's also one of her weaker albums from my experience with it. And then, so probably, so far my rankings would be Sweetener, My Everything, Yours Truly, Thank You Next, Dangerous Woman, or Dangerous Woman, and then Thank You Next, depending on how I wanted to rate it. So, without further ado, I would probably give Thank You Next the edge. Without further ado, that was it for the video. If you liked the video, please click like, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, and if you want to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, and other social media, it is in the description below. I hope you enjoyed. Bye!